Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the pre-recorded technical assistance webinar for the Agricultural Genomes to Phenomes initiative for 2023. This project or this program involves both crops and animals. And so we have expertise from both programs represented today. And though you won't be able to pose questions, we'd like to just say that all of the information here is present in much more detail in the RFA itself, which is available on the NIFA funding opportunity page for this program, as well as through grants.gov. Next slide. So I'm required to read this, and I will start now. In accordance with federal civil rights law and U.S. Department of Agriculture civil rights regulations and policies, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees, and institutions participating in or administering USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, including gender expression, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family parental status, income derived from a public assistance program, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity in any program or activity conducted or funded by USDA. Not all bases apply to all programs. Remedies and complaint filing deadlines vary by program or incident. So the next two bullets describe contact information that may be used to request a reasonable accommodation if you have difficulty accessing this, as well as contact information, including a telephone number and mailing address to register a discrimination complaint. Next slide. So we have with us today Angelica Van Gore, representing the animal systems side of things, and myself, Christian Tobias. I'm with the plant production division at NIFA. The division, the animal systems side was previously represented by Frank Seward, and I'd like to thank him for his work on this program, and just say that anything right with the RFA can be attributed to his influence. And then I'd also like to introduce Andrew Funk, a program specialist with plant systems production, who will be running the slides today and also will be presenting part of the program. Next slide. So we're going to cover what NIFA is and what Genomes to Phenomes initiative is. We'll be talking about some of the details of the RFA itself, how the proposals get evaluated. We'll spend a little bit of time on the current success story of the Genomes to Phenomes initiative, and then provide you with some additional information and resources when you're putting together your proposals. These might help. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so for those that aren't aware, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA, is the extramural science funding agency within the USDA REE, or Research Economics and Education mission area. And its mission is to invest in and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture, and to provide funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure discoveries in agricultural-related sciences and technologies reach people who can then put them into practice. Next slide. So some of the fields and topics that are covered by NIFA programs include advanced technologies, education, food science, animals, the environment, food and nutrition security, business and economy, farming and ranching, international engagement, sustaining natural resources, human sciences, including rural communities and families, and plant production. And today we'll be dealing mostly with the animals and plants side of the NIFA's programs, as well as advanced technologies that seem to be most relevant to this particular program. Next slide. Okay, let's go into it in a little more detail now. So the purpose of the program comes from the statutory language, which was authorized by Congress and signed into law by the president. And these purposes never change, essentially. And they are to study agriculturally significant crops and animals in production environments to achieve sustainable and secure agricultural production, to ensure that current gaps in existing knowledge of agricultural crop and animal genetics and phenomics are filled, to identify and develop a functional understanding of relevant genes from animals and plants that are important to the agriculture sector, to ensure future genetic improvement of crops and animals of importance to the ag sector, to study relevance of diverse germplasm as a source of unique genes that may be important in the future, and to enhance genetics to reduce the economic impact of pathogens on crops and animals of importance to the agriculture sector. And finally, to disseminate findings to relevant audiences. So that's in the statutory language. Next page. The priorities of the program may change, but in general, they are to promote effective collaborations across academic disciplines by integrating diverse teams with different science and communication expertise, to develop models connecting traits such as yield or feed conversion efficiency with environmental variability, genetics, and climate, to devise and employ common data architectures across both plants and animals consistent with fair data principles, to engineer novel hardware, computing, and information systems to improve and democratize acquisition, interpretation, and analysis of large data sets of data such as imagery, spectra, phenotypes, genotypes, as well as metadata associated with those data types. To study the relevance of diverse germplasm as a source of genes that may be important to the future genetic improvement of crops and animals, and to improve the quality and availability of crop and animal genetic resources that may reduce the economic impacts of climate change on agriculture. Next slide. Thanks. So, who's eligible to apply for this program? The eligibility includes state agricultural experiment stations, colleges and universities, university research foundations, other research institutions and organizations, federal agencies, national laboratories, private organizations, foundations or corporations, individuals, or any group consisting of two or more of these entities. Next page. So this RFA is soliciting integrated projects, and these may include standard research or standard integrated proposals, as well as conference proposals. Next slide. The activities that are going to be funded this year must address one or more topics from each of these two categories of research and education. So within the research realm, the activities may include develop new or augment existing benchmark data sets comprised of genetic, phenotypic, environmental, climatic, and physiological data on crops or livestock for the purpose of testing, training, and comparing predictive analytic tools by the data science community with potential wide application in agricultural fields. Or address technological or institutional barriers that prevent effective collaboration with for-profit entities whose involvement is critical, really, for development of robust predictive analytical tools for agricultural genomes to phenomes research. So that's a private-public partnership aspect of this program. Combine plant and animal genomic information with phenotypic and environmental data through an interdisciplinary framework, leading to a novel understanding of plant and animal processes that affect growth, productivity, and the ability to predict performance, to deploy superior varieties and species, and to enable producers to improve plant and animal management techniques and improve recommendations to farmers and ranchers. Then to build on genomic research to understand gene function in production environments that it's expected to have returns for crops and animals of importance. So the other activity that's funded is in education, and that is to improve curricula and training involving cross-disciplinary research approaches for students and scientists in order to develop expertise in ag genome to phenome research. So it's really important to stress here that these approaches need to be integrated. So the education component and the research component need to be complementary, need to be closely tied to one another. And in fact, in the application process, you may consider putting together a logic model. That is something that NIFA strongly encourages, that it directly addresses how the activities under these proposals integrate. Next slide. So all proposals will need to include a budgeted plan for data management, or data management plan that includes making the data publicly available and that adheres as closely as possible to fair data principles. Applications have to provide a compelling case for why it's essential to bring together substantially different science and engineering disciplines to address a specific need in the proposal. Applications that demonstrate coordination and collaboration with international partners, especially public-private partnerships and other genome to phenome projects worldwide, will be viewed favorably. However, applications must be submitted by eligible U.S. institutions. And if you go back to the authorizing language, the purpose encourages the international aspects and collaboration with each country funding its own research. That said, this doesn't allow the option, disallow the option of having funding international collaborations through subcontract type of arrangement, as is often done with NIFA awards. So finally, consortia of eligible entities are encouraged to apply for this funding opportunity. Next. Couple of changes from last year. We're not asking for collaborations between U.S. and animal researchers. Researchers. They're no longer required. They are allowed, but not required. And lastly, there's no seed grant mechanism for this year. Last year, we had a stipulation providing for awarding seed grants, and we discontinued that requirement. Next slide, please. So cost matching is required unless waived by NIFA for the following reasons. The results of the projects are of a particular benefit to a specific agricultural commodity, but these results are likely to be applicable to agricultural commodities in general, meaning that the science may be transferable to other species or crops. The project involves a minor commodity and deals with scientifically important research, and the recipient is unable to satisfy the matching funds requirements. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Funk to talk about details of putting together the application.
Hello, this will describe the requirements and stipulations for the application itself. For the first step, the request for applications is available online in full, and it is highly recommended that you carefully read the request for applications for all of these details. The application deadline is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 1st, and the applications must be submitted through grants.gov. Please get your applications in early if you're at all concerned about meeting that deadline. Applications received after 5 p.m. will not be considered. The total funding available for the program is approximately $2.3 million. The program code that should be specified on the applications is AG2PI. And in your budget, the maximum allowed budget request is $925,000 for the integrated projects and up to $20,000 for conferences. Key documents to make your application eligible for review include a project summary or abstract, a project narrative, a bibliography or list of citations for your narrative, a data management plan. Other documents that are requested can be seen in the NIFA Grants Applications Guide. The application has some tight specifications for what will be even considered for review. The most important limitation is you are allowed no more than 18 pages for the project narrative, and it is recommended that you use the specifics of spacing and font sizes listed here. So 11-point Times New Roman font, 1.5 line spacing, so that the document does not have excessive text for the reviewers and everybody is on an equal footing for their applications. And these page limits do include all texts, figures, and tables. Within the 18-page project narrative, there are some defined sections that we request, and that includes the introduction, a rationale and significance section, the objectives, an approach section, a project timeline, and if you are requesting consideration as a center of excellence, that is its own section, the justification for a center of excellence. Anything that exceeds the 18-page limit will be rejected and returned without review. A data management plan is required, and it can be up to 2 pages of a plan that describes the data that will be collected during the project, in addition to how it will be stored and shared. And so the data management plan will should cover the data types that will be generated as part of the project, the formats of the data, how it will be stored and backed up to make sure that it's not lost through any unforeseen circumstances, how the data will be shared among in the public, as well as how the data will be protected. It's recommended how the plan is consistent with fair data principles, as well as the roles and responsibilities of who will actually be conducting the various stages of data acquisition, storage, and sharing. And there is a full document available at NIFA's website that describes the data management plan requirements, and it is recommended that you carefully review that document when creating your data management plan. The application submission process is electronic only, and there's a full guide with all sorts of details and steps that's available on the NIFA website. Again, these resources are valuable and will make sure that you understand everything required for your application submission. We only accept applications through grants.gov, and in addition, every document submitted must be in a portable document format. So that is the PDF format. If anything is submitted as an other file, such as a spreadsheet or a Word document, that is not valid for review. Everything must be as submitted as a PDF. And now to describe the proposal evaluation process, I will pass it over to Angelica.
Thank you, Andy. It's my pleasure to contribute to the webinar today as a backup for Christian on this program. So the evaluation process can be found in the RFA on page 17. Proposals are assigned for review to at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the proposed topic. Reviewers will produce individual written reviews of each proposal, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses, and then these written reviews are used to begin the panel discussions with other reviewers serving on the peer review panel. Through the discussions, the peer review panelists come to a consensus on the final rating and ranking of the proposals, which will then be used in the funding decisions. Next slide. So evaluation criteria for the integrated proposals can be found in the RFA on page 18. So documentation that the research supports the purposes of AG2PI is directed towards specific program priorities and is designed to accelerate productivity, economic, environmental, and social sustainability of U.S. agriculture with respect to natural resources and the environment, human health and well-being, and rural communities. The education plan must be present. Application needs to include a detailed plan for integrating the curricula development with training and cross-disciplinary research towards producing the skilled scientific workforce required for implementation of goals found in the RFA's purposes and priorities. Clarity and delineation of objectives, including why it's essential to bring together different science and engineering disciplines to achieve them. Adequacy of the description of the undertaking, including how contributing disciplines will be integrated. Suitability of the data management plan, probability of success of the project given the level of scientific innovation and risk-reward balance. When international or public-private partnerships are involved, the project leverages expertise, resources, and experience to achieve greater impact or brings foreign or international research efforts to address issues relevant to U.S. agriculture. Next slide. So the evaluation criteria for conference grant proposals is found in the RFA on page 18. It has to have a demonstrated need, justification of the conference, curriculum proposed or planned activities, and the application adequately addresses at least one of the fiscal year 2023 AG2PI priorities referenced within the RFA. Adequacy of background research needs to be present. Listing of recent meetings, outreach activities, or other activities on the same subject. Stakeholder involvement. Application includes names and organizational affiliations of the chair and other members of the organizing committee, or planning team members, including information on how stakeholders were selected, how their input was solicited and incorporated, and a description of their future involvement in the project. Quality of the proposed program or agenda of the conference, activity, and planning proposals, including a list of scheduled participants, their institutional affiliations, and a description of their expertise. For curriculum projects, a description of the program, including the target audience, expected number of participants, a detailed syllabus, experiential training activities, how the program fits within ongoing activities, and describe how the impact of the programs being proposed will be assessed. Potential for the project to make a difference. Next slide. So here is the timeline for our competitive grant programs. You can expect 1 to 2 months from the time the RFA is released, given for proposal writing and planning, and then the proposal due date. There's 2 to 3 months while the proposals are under peer review,